Ms. Houlahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I've been looking forward very much to our time together. My name is Chrissy Houlahan. In addition to representing a part of Pennsylvania, the 6th District, I also am a veteran. I come from a family of veterans and service members, and it's very deeply personal to me, this conversation that we're having, as I know it is to you as well. Over the last several days, I've had the opportunity to watch a bit of the hearings that you have testified at this week, and I can see and know that you have quite a bit to say. But since I only have 5 minutes, I'm going to try and focus my time on a concept that you talk about very frequently, and that is lethality. By definition, lethality simply means being capable of causing death. Secretary Hegseth, I have a couple of clarifying questions that I'd like very much to get through. So in the interest of time and efficiency, I would ask just simply for a yes or no from you for the answers to these questions in advance, and I thank you.
Welcome back to Conservative Perspectives. Folks, today we're diving into what I consider to be one of the most telling exchanges from Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing for Secretary of Defense. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we bring you honest, unfiltered conservative analysis on the issues that matter most to our nation's future.
So given that definition of lethality, would it be fair to say that both men and women are, generally speaking, capable of causing death?
It depends.
Yes or no, sir?
Depends on the context.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Are men and women capable of causing death?
It depends on the context.
Yes or no?
It depends on the context.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't come up with an answer whether or not a man or a woman can cause death. That's an obvious yes. Would it be fair to say that the U.S. military trains our soldiers in multiple ways to be capable of causing death, whether they are men or women?
That's a big part of our job.
Yes. Would it be fair to say that both men and women are capable of pulling a trigger of a rifle to cause death? Yes or no?
Sure.
And would it be fair to say that both men and women are capable of operating an unmanned combat drone, or maybe pushing a button to launch a missile to cause death again? Yes or no?
I know what you're getting at, ma'am.
Yes?
But it is,
so lastly,
men and women
sir,
carry equipment differently, a 155 round differently,
sir,
a rucksack differently,
reclaiming my time.
I
asked about missiles and drones.
It is the gentlelady's time.
Reclaiming my time.
Pause. It is the gentlelady's time.
Would it be fair, finally, to say that both men and women are capable of piloting a jet or a helicopter to combat people and to cause death as a consequence?
A lot of wonderful female pilots.
Yes or no? So while I agree with you that physical fitness, as you were mentioning, is a very strong and important component of lethality, the warfighter that you have written about in your books and talked about on various podcasts is but a very, very small piece of the overall lethality picture. In fact, we estimate only about 10% of our military personnel are directly involved in the kind of combat that you're referring to. Rather, 90%, that's the math, of our troops are doing other jobs that support and enable those 10%. So to put it simply, lethality cannot be measured solely by the damage that a 6'3", 225-pound Christian male with a rifle can do to the enemy anymore. Sure, I agree he's part of that solution, but it is an incomplete and at best very dangerous and very homogeneous description of that. Lethality is equal parts technical skills, tactical experience, cognitive problem solving, and physical fitness. It's not about one person, but it's about many. It's not about blue or red. It's not about liberal or conservative, Christian, Jewish, or agnostic. It's not about North and South. Here are some statements that you have said previously about women in service. This is 2024, sir, not when you were a 19-year-old. You have said that women are life givers, that dads push us to take risks, and that moms put the training wheels on our bikes, that we need moms, but not in the military. Secondly, you have said, I am straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, and it hasn't made us more lethal. With what's left of my time, sir, I will say to you that women have served our country for 200 plus years in our militaries and in service and protection of our nation. They are watching you, what you do and what you say, and we deserve better from you. Women can and do serve with lethality today. We can and do all of the jobs that are required of us. Yes or no, do you believe military women should be in all roles in the military?
Women have joined
Yes
our
or
military
no, sir?
in record numbers
Should
under this
women be
administration.
in all roles in the military?
Standards should be high and equal for
Yes
all positions.
or no, sir? We agree. Should they
Standards-
be in all roles in the
So
military?
my job is that
yes
10%
or no?
stays as sharp as
Reclaiming my
possible.
time.
Standards should be high and equal.
Reclaiming my time. Will you agree that that women should be able to perform in all combat roles, assuming they meet the standards?
Gentlelady's time's expired.
It's all about standards.
Before we move to
What we just witnessed between Representative Chrissy Houlahan and Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth perfectly encapsulates the fundamental divide in how we approach our military's readiness and effectiveness. Let me break down what really happened here and why this matters so much more than the mainstream media wants you to understand. First, let's acknowledge what Representative Houlahan was trying to do. She was attempting to corner Hegseth with what I call gotcha questions designed not to elicit genuine discussion about military policy, but to create sound bites that make him look unreasonable. The entire line of questioning about whether men and women can cause death was a setup from the beginning. Of course, both men and women can pull triggers and operate drones. That was never the real debate, and Houlahan knew it. But here's what she deliberately ignored, and what Hegseth was trying to explain before being cut off repeatedly. The question isn't whether women can pull triggers or operate equipment. The question is about combat effectiveness, unit cohesion, and the reality of ground combat operations. When Hegseth mentioned that men and women carry equipment differently, he was touching on something that every honest military professional knows, but few are willing to say publicly anymore. Let's talk about the 10% versus 90% argument Houlahan made. She claimed only 10% of military personnel are in direct combat roles, suggesting this somehow minimizes the importance of physical standards in those roles. This is exactly backwards thinking. If only 10% of our forces are doing the most dangerous, physically demanding work that everything else depends on, shouldn't we be absolutely certain those 10% are as capable as possible? Shouldn't we prioritize effectiveness over social engineering in those critical roles? The representative kept interrupting Hegseth when he tried to explain the nuances of his position. This is classic political theater. She didn't want to hear his actual views because they might make sense to viewers. She wanted to create a narrative that he's somehow anti-woman, which is completely false. Supporting the most effective military possible isn't anti-woman. It's pro-American. Here's what really concerns me about this exchange. Houlahan accused Hegseth of making statements in 2024, not when he was 19 years old, suggesting his views on women in combat roles are somehow outdated or inappropriate. But having principled positions based on military effectiveness isn't something you should apologize for, regardless of when you stated them. The idea that we should abandon proven military wisdom to satisfy political correctness is exactly what's wrong with our current approach. When Hegseth talked about women being life-givers and the different roles that mothers and fathers naturally play, he wasn't being sexist. He was acknowledging biological and psychological realities that have been true throughout human history. Recognizing that men and women have different strengths and natural tendencies isn't discrimination, it's common sense. The military should be organized around maximizing these natural strengths, not pretending they don't exist. The most frustrating part of this exchange was how Houlahan kept demanding yes or no answers to complex questions. Military policy isn't about simple yes or no answers. It's about understanding context, mission requirements, and what actually works in life or death situations. When lives are on the line, we need leaders who think deeply about these issues, not politicians who want sound bites. Let's address the elephant in the room. Standards in the military have been quietly lowered in many areas to accommodate integration policies. This isn't speculation, it's documented fact. When we prioritize social goals over military effectiveness, we put our service members at greater risk. Hegseth understands this, which is why he kept emphasizing that standards should be high and equal. That's not controversial. That should be obvious. The representative's claim that women have served for over 200 years is misleading in this context. Yes, women have served our country honorably in many capacities throughout our history. But direct ground combat roles are different from support roles, medical roles, or even pilot roles. Each requires different physical and psychological demands. Acknowledging these differences isn't disrespectful to women's service. It's realistic about what different roles actually require. What really stood out to me was Houlahan's statement that women are watching and deserve better. This implies that anyone who questions immigration policies is somehow attacking women's worth or patriotism. That's not what this is about at all. This is about having the most effective military possible. Every American, male and female, deserves a military that's organized around winning wars and protecting our nation, not social experimentation. The fact that women have joined the military in record numbers under the current administration isn't necessarily a positive development. It is driven by lowered standards or political pressure rather than genuine military necessity. Numbers for the sake of numbers don't equal effectiveness. What matters is whether our military is more capable of defending America and achieving its missions. Here's my bottom line on this exchange. Pete Hegseth was trying to have an honest conversation about military effectiveness while being repeatedly interrupted by a politician who wanted to score political points. His reluctance to give simple yes or no answers to complex questions shows wisdom, not evasion. Military leadership requires nuanced thinking about difficult issues, not bumper sticker responses. The real question we should be asking isn't whether women can perform military tasks. It's whether our current policies are producing the most effective military possible. Are we prioritizing social goals over combat effectiveness? Are we being honest about the physical and psychological demands of different military roles? Are we putting politics ahead of the safety of our service members? These are the questions that matter, and they're exactly the kind of questions that Pete Hegseth has been asking throughout his career. That's why he's facing such hostile questioning. He's willing to challenge the politically correct consensus that's dominated military policy for years. As conservatives, we need to support leaders who are willing to ask hard questions and make decisions based on what works, not what's popular. Our military isn't a social laboratory. It's the institution responsible for protecting our nation and defeating our enemies. Every policy decision should be measured against that standard. The attacks on Hegseth during this hearing aren't really about his qualifications or his views on women in combat. They're about preserving a political orthodoxy that prioritizes social engineering over military effectiveness. That orthodoxy has failed our military and our country, and it's time for leaders who are willing to say so. That's my take on this important exchange. What do you think? Are we prioritizing the right things in our military policy? Let me know in the comment below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Conservative Perspectives for more honest analysis of the issues that matter most to our country's future. Until next time, stay informed and stay patriotic.